What I'm gonna talk about in this video is something that happened over a month ago, but I just never really got around to talking about it. Finally gonna make a video about this, because I feel like, as of late, we have focused a bit too much on one side of the political spectrum, and when they prevent freedom of speech. First, let me just add that just like when I talk about the regressive left, I'm not talking about most people on the left. Most people on the left respect freedom of speech, just like most people on the right do. However, it is important not to become complacent and not to call out bad behavior when you see it. Otherwise, you're not just going to have Antifa to deal with, but in the future, the right-wing version as well. One Iowa City FedEx driver stepped in to save Old Glory Thursday, preventing the plans of a few protesters who decided to burn the American flag over racial and social injustice and US imperialism. According to the Iowa City Press Citizen, the protest was not intended to be anti-veteran, but was meant to highlight their disagreement with the new Trump White House. However, Matt Urin, a uniformed FedEx employee, didn't see it as just a peaceful demonstration. He saw it as an assault on American values, so he rushed in with his bare hands and a fire extinguisher to rescue the flag, tussling with several protesters as he yanked it away from the flames. Though he declined to comment, he told the Press Citizen that his actions had nothing to do with his employer. One bystander who saw the ordeal defended Urin, telling the aggressive demonstrator that he's with this guy. "That's not freedom, that's treason, man," he said of the flag burning. "The opportunity to close you have in your back was provided because of that flag. I don't agree with Trump, no," he continued, "but this shit is not how you unite a country." His comments immediately silenced the demonstrators, one of whom timidly replied, "That's not our job." Yet college-educated guys, the onlooker, replied as he walked away. Press Citizen reporter Stephen Gruber Miller caught the entire incident on video. And that is the video I'm gonna show you now.
Here. Get out of here. All you guys. You fucking retard. I'm with this guy. No, this is not a Get out of here.
Take away our freedom?
Move. That's not freedom, that's treason, man. That's fucking burning the flag. The opportunity, the clothes you have on your back was provided that flag. It's fucked up right now. I don't agree with Trump, no. But this shit is not how you unite a country.
That's not our job. You're gonna let the Illuminati run the planet, man?
Get college educated, guys.
One world government?
Burn it.
That's what you want. Get out of here. Get out! Let's go! Get out of here! All you guys! Back off! Back off! Back off! What?
Go, dude.
Hey, don't fucking assault me! You know what? You don't like it, get the fuck out! What? Yeah? Want me to fucking
your FedEx fucking
give you
truck,
displayed tremendous privilege and move the fucking
Get back in your truck.
Great! Fucking great! No, man, I'm gonna fight fucking fascism here!
Eat a dick. Can we form a circle around
Yeah, let's just, everybody, let's come around here if you're not burning anything.
However, the confrontation didn't seem to change the minds of the protesters. Paul Oscarby, one of the demonstrators in Iowa City's pedestrian mall, across the street from the old Capitol Mall, said the flag is a symbol of racial injustice. "When I see the flag, I see racial injustice," Oscarby told the Press Citizen. "I see social injustice from Native American genocide to African American slavery to failing to recognize women as citizens until the 20th century." Two protesters, Oscarby and Kelly Ebensberger, were arrested and charged with breaking Iowa City's ordinance against public burning. The charge is a simple misdemeanor and punishable by up to 30 days in jail or a fine up to $625. It is important to note that according to Iowa City Police Sergeant Scott Gard, the two demonstrators were not charged because of what they were burning, but because they chose to do so without seeking a permit first. Iowa did have a law that made it illegal to burn, defile, or satirize the American flag, but that law was deemed unconstitutional in December of 2014, and state officials were told not to enforce the ordinance. It's not for the content of what they were burning, but rather for violating the city ordinance of open burning, Gard said. Ebensberger said she knew they were violating the law by burning the flag without the proper allowances, but decided to do so anyway to make a point. If you start criminalizing one aspect of protesting, it's only a matter of time before they start criminalizing it all, she told the Press Citizen. At press time, FedEx had not issued a statement on the matter. However, according to an update, he's not going to lose his job, which I support, by the way. I think it's a very bad move when companies start to fire their employees over matters such as this. That being said, I do not support what this guy did. I repeat, I am vehemently against what this man did, because even though what these people did technically was not allowed because they didn't have a permit, in his mind they could very well have had one. He stopped them from exercising their First Amendment right to protest, not because they didn't have a permit, but because he simply didn't like their action. That is textbook totalitarian behavior, and where have we seen that behavior before? Oh yeah, that's right, Berkeley. You remember when Milo was supposed to speak? Well, they had to cancel the event. Now, let me just make this very clear, especially if you're someone who is not used to my channel, if you just happen to have stumbled upon this video. My channel is very much devoted to criticizing people on the regressive left. Naturally, since it is the left who has been most active in preventing people from being able to exercise their rights, either through legal means or social. However, what people need to realize, though, is the road to totalitarianism is not a one-way street. It goes in both directions. Even if you are a centrist, you can still be a totalitarian. I'm gonna show you some tweets now that just makes me very sad. Trent writes, "Hey FedEx, don't fire hashtag FedEx guy. All he did was deliver a big old box of America today." Paige writes, "You've got a hero working out here in Iowa City at FedEx. Can you thank him for us? Love Iowa City. Hashtag America. Hashtag FedEx guy. Hashtag God bless the USA." Trent writes, "He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a FedEx guy." Tom writes, "An American hero was born today. Hashtag FedEx guy." Ann Coulter writes, "I will only use Federal Express now. Thank you, FedEx man." Now this one in particular bothers me because Ann Coulter of everyone should understand the value of free speech. After all, her friend, who happens to be a liberal, Bill Maher, allows her to speak very often at his show. He doesn't do no platforming when it comes to her. In other words, she directly benefits from freedom of speech. You would think that with a friend who would be so tolerant of her opinions that are so dissimilar to his own, that she would have learned a thing or two, but I guess not. Kyle Burnett writes, "The video of the hashtag FedEx guy preventing those protesters, quotation marks, from burning a flag is the best thing I've seen in a while. Hope he gets promoted." Arctaurus 39 writes, "If there's freedom of speech to burn a flag, there's freedom of speech to stop it. Kudos, Mr. FedEx guy. You see, it's not illegal for them to burn the flag. There was a law against it, but it was struck down in 2014, which I think is a very wise decision." Sandra Lee writes, "At FedEx, because of that driver waving the flag, I will use no other service. Word of warning, his job better not be at risk for what he did." Rita Sullivan writes, at @ncoulter, @sgrubermiller. I love how one FedEx guy took on a whole group of cowards. Don't like our flag, then get the hell out. You do not support Soviet Russia. You go to Gulag. I mean, honestly, Rita, what's the difference? Jet McDonald writes, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the FedEx guy. Burning the flag is treason and absolute disrespect to those who died defending it. Actually supporting people who prevent freedom of speech, you know, something called the First Amendment, is a huge slap in the face of all the soldiers who have died fighting in order to protect your Constitution. That, Mr. MacDonald, true disregard of the people who have fought for your nation. Ah, fuck writes, happy to see that @FedEx hires #TrueAmericans. Great job. FedEx driver who stopped a flag from being burned. Stephanie Cox writes, @SGruberMiller, @FedEx. No one burns flag unless they hate US. Shameful. Kudos to FedEx for hiring a great man. Just earned my business. To these so-called conservatives, I would like to remind them of something very important to keep in mind when it comes to dealing with your political opponents. If we are to violate the Constitution, will the people submit to our unauthorized acts? Sir, they ought not to submit. They would deserve the chains that these measures are forging for them. The country will swarm with informers, spies, delators, and all the odious reptile tribe that breed in the sunshine of a despotic power. The hours of the most unsuspected confidence, the intimacies of friendship, or the recesses of domestic retirement afford no security. The companion whom you most trust, the friend in whom you must confide, the domestic who waits in your chamber, are all tempted to betray your imprudent or unguarded folly, to misrepresent your words, to convey them, distorted by calumny, to the secret tribunal where jealousy presides, where fear officiates as accuser and suspicion is the only evidence that is heard. Do not let us be told, sir, that we excite a fervor against foreign aggression only to establish a tyranny at home, that we are absurd enough to call ourselves free and enlightened, while we advocate principles that would have disgraced the age of Gothic barbarity and establish a code compared to which the ordeal is wise and the trial by battle is merciful and just. These words are from Edward Livingston, opposing the Alien and Sedition Bills of 1798 in Congress. Those who won our independence believed that the final end of the state was to make men free to develop their faculties, and that in its government the deliberate forces should prevail over the arbitrary. They valued liberty, both as an end and as a means. They believed liberty to be the secret of happiness and courage to be the secret of liberty. They believed that freedom to think as you will and to speak as you think are means indispensable to the discovery and spread of political truth. That without free speech and assembly, discussion would be futile. That with them, discussion affords ordinarily adequate protection against the dissemination of noxious doctrine. That the greatest menace to freedom is an inert people. That public discussion is a political duty. That this should be a fundamental principle of the American government. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis D. Brandeis, in the case Whitney v. California, 274 U.S. 357 in 1927. Now you would think that having people who have witnessed one flavor of totalitarian behavior, a totalitarian behavior by the left for the last years, would give them a bitter taste in their mouth as to use such hideous means against their political dissenters. Well, I guess not. I guess there are fools no matter their political flavor.